Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only Zebec network. Now, look, something huge happened once again. Slow down a little bit on the weekend. I guess, what do I say? The team has to sleep a little bit. They are human after all, but with the way they consistently pump out updates and partnerships and just a bunch of things left, right, and center. It just makes me think that sometimes they're not human, right? Sometimes they're just not human. They're just a machine. They're just AI. They're moving at lightning speed because my oh my, we can see Zebec partners with Stripe and integrates Privy IO wallet infrastructure into payroll super app. Privy, now part of Stripe, brings best in class embedded wallets, effortless external wallet connections, and native multi-chain support across Solana, Ethereum, Base, etc., enabling a unified experience for every user. In phase 2, Zebec will expand with a Stripe network for stablecoin payments and cross-border payouts, bridging on-chain and traditional rails further. I gotta clap. Zebec once again delivers. Okay. Listen, right? Listen, I don't know how, once again, people doubt this project, but for me, this thing is moving at lightning speeds. And Zebec, it's just a party, right? It's just a consistent party. It's just full of updates. It's just full of fun stuff all the damn time. You know, I don't know, man. I haven't ever seen any other crypto do it like Zebec. And look, and I'm sure throughout history there have been cryptos that are pumping news and things left, right, and center. I'm sure Ripple and a couple other coins. But in terms of coins that are in our market cap realm, right, in terms of the amount of followers we have, in terms of everything, the holders, I just feel like Zebec is ripping things left, right, and center. So this is very, very exciting to see. This is very, very exciting to witness. And we're going to break down what exactly does this mean. We can see, right, Crypto Queen, shout out to you. Zebec is quietly building one of the strongest payment moats in all of crypto. Here's the full picture, okay? We can see NatPay, 170 billion US slash ACH slash payroll rails. Circle, 38 trillion plus annual USDC volume, primarily from stablecoin partner. Uphold, crypto fiat bridge and custody for 100 million plus Zebec. Stellar, USD slash EURC slash PYUSD cross border rails. Alchemy, pay fiat on slash off ramps in 170 plus countries, all Unity stable, real-time Euro payroll with Euro AU, Stripe, 1.9 trillion global TPV. Listen, once again, I have to pause here. I've said it before and I'll say it again, right? If you looked at Zebec in terms of a pure resume standpoint, it is one of the best we have seen ever. Especially for a coin that is sitting around, what is it, like 200 million market cap? Yeah, 210 million market cap. The type of resume Zebec presents, the things Zebec are doing and accomplishing, who they're teaming up with, partnering with, right? Working with. This is remarkable. Like, it truly is. Like, the resume would look very, very stacked. Okay. This is like the equivalent of a dynasty team, right? I'm sure some of you guys watch sports. It does not matter literally which sport. Just think of the best in that sport, right? That is just how Zebec feels. The things I just mentioned, like the last 7 right here, all of this, right? Even getting one of these done or 2 of these done would be like, wow, like 10 out of 10. Like, wow, that's a serious crypto. This is a serious project. The fact that they have all of this plus a lot more, I mean, I just don't know how people doubt this crypto. I understand maybe, you bought in maybe higher, you see price going down, you see positive news, and maybe you're just like, well, this is just all baloney because they keep saying good things are happening, but my price and my value of my crypto is going down. And I understand, right? Because these markets, it's more complicated than just good news, right? It's more complicated than just following good or bad news. That it's hard, right? It's hard. Just a lot of things that don't make sense. There's a lot of things that are backwards. There's a lot of manipulation, but you know, that's just a reality that we live in. But yeah, man, look, Zebec is absolutely killing it. These are the people they're plugged with. Like, let's just look at the rest of this post, and we have another post to cover as well. Listen, realistic addressable market today: US 1 to 1.6 trillion in payment volume. That's going to be roughly 8 to 12% of total US digital payments. Global 2.4 to 3.9 trillion, 1.5 to 2.5% of worldwide digital payments. That's not potential someday. That's volume they can already route real time streaming payments, payroll, and card spend through today. 65,000 plus cards issued, 41 million plus in streamed payroll processed, 250 plus US enterprises live. Zebec isn't asking for permission to enter TradeFi payment rails. They already have the keys. The silent payroll and streaming payment monster keeps stacking partnerships most people still sleep on. And like I said, these are just some of the things we named, right? There's a lot more that Zebec has accomplished in just even the last few months than just this. So very, very impressive once again from Zebec Network. Listen, I want to cover this post very quickly. All right, remember when people told us ZBCN is a scam? Because I do, and I'll never let them live in peace. Listen, you don't even have to let them know, because deep down, right, when they fade a project like this, or, they simply see the move happen without them, they won't have that peace internally, because there's no logical explanation why people sometimes hate and speak bad about Zebec, right? There's just literally zero logic behind it. And you know what? That's fine. I personally really don't care if people see the resume Zebec has and they just call it a scam coin, and they want to be ignorant, they want to be prideful, they want to be arrogant. I don't care. Let them fall on their ass. Let them miss this train, right? Let them miss this opportunity. Why do I care? Why should you care? Let them talk. Let them talk. Okay, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to miss out. They're the ones that are suffering. So who really cares about them? No, genuinely, like, who really cares? Like, we got to stop giving attention to these types of people. Like, they have the IQ of a pine cone. Like, it is what it is, right? You can't save everybody. Anyways, we're ranked 156 out of 9,023 active cryptos, 210 million market cap, 7 million volume. Volume has been really low the last few days. We can see even the last week we've gone down an average of 0.22%, so not much has changed. We were higher a little bit at one point, but now we're kind of back to break even. Over the last month, we have gone down roughly 10%. In the last 24 hours, we have gone down almost 3%. But we can see when we look at the monthly chart, for example, we can see we really start to go sideways near the end of November. And then now we have really just been chilling pretty much ever since kind of like the 5th until now. So a couple of days of just pure sideways movement, but that's not necessarily bad, people, right? That's not bad. When we go from selling off to sideways, the next step is going up. And yeah, no Coinbase, no Binance, but the things I just mentioned, they're much bigger than those two even combined. So I do believe Coinbase and Binance is pretty much inevitable. We can see we are at 89,309 holders, which is very, very nice to see. That is what we love to see. And you know what? I'm telling you, the day altcoin season, or like the time, let's say the quarter of altcoin season, it's going to be insane when cryptos are consistently rising. And then when they have those couple of weeks of insane pumps, you're going to see this thing go up hundreds of holders a day, if not thousands. I've seen it with other cryptos. I've seen, the bandwagon. I've seen how, there's a reason why, first off, that people, right? People call crypto a scam. It's because most people get in during those pumps. They won't buy Zebec, or they won't do research. They won't even talk about crypto when Zebec, for example, is like at 0.002. They won't talk about it when Zebec's at 1 cent. But they'll start talking about it if Zebec gets to a couple cents. Maybe they'll start talking about it when Zebec gets to 30 cents. And then, they'll go dive into a project. Let's say Zebec does hit 30 cents, and the peak of Zebec that altcoin season is 40. They get in at 30 cents and they're thinking, wow, we're going to go to $10. Right, this thing is going to go to $10. They don't know market cap. They don't have the education. They're blinded by hype, possibly false narratives. Just lack of education and everything. And That's how they get wrecked, and they call everything a scam. Is because they get in at the tops. But luckily for people like you guys, you guys are in at much better prices. That is it though, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you guys enjoy, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.